Left Behind, Chapter 16, Part 2, page 296. Buck, do not insult me. The former president of Romania asked me of his own free will to replace him, and the support for that move is unanimous within the government and almost totally favorable among the masses. Everyone is better off. The former president is out of power. He lives in luxury. Buck cannot breathe. What was Carpathia implying? Buck stared at him, unable to move, unable to respond. Carpathia continued. Secretary General Nagumo presides over a country that is starving. The world is right for my plan of 10 members of the Security Council. These things will work together. The Secretary General must devote his time to the problems within Botswana. With the right incentive, he will do that. He will be a happy, prosperous man with a happy and prosperous people. But first, he will endorse my plan for the Security Council. The representatives from each of the 10 will be an interesting mix. Some current ambassadors, but mostly new people with good financial backgrounds and progressive ideas. Are you telling me that you will become Secretary General of the UN? I would never seek such a position, but how could I refuse such an honor? Who could turn his back on such an enormous responsibility? How much say will we have about who represents each of the 10 permanent members of the Security Council? I will merely be there to provide servant leadership. Are you aware of that concept? One leads by serving, not by dictating. Let me take a wild guess, Buck said. Todd Cawthron is aligned for a role on your new Security Council. Carpathia sat back as if learning something. Would that not be interesting, he said. A non-politician, a brilliant financial mind, one who is wise enough and kind enough and globally minded enough to allow the world to go to a three-currency system that did not include his own pound sterling. He brings no baggage to such a role. The world would have a certain level of comfort with him, would they not? I suppose they would, Buck said, his mind black with depression as if he was losing his soul before his very eyes. Unless that is Todd Cawthron were in the middle of a mysterious suicide, a car bombing, that sort of a thing. Carpathia smiled. I should think a man in a position of international potential like that would want a very clean house just now. And you could affect that? Buck, you overestimate me. I am just saying that if you are right, I might try to stop what is clearly an unethical and legal action against an innocent man. You. I cannot see how there is anything wrong with that. Rayford still cannot sleep. For some reason, he was overcome anew with grief and remorse over the loss of his wife and son. He slid out of his bed and onto his knees, burying his face in the sheet on the side where his wife used to sleep. He had been so tired, so tense, so worried about Chloe that he had been pushed from his heart and mind about his soul how it's his terrible loss. He believed totally that his wife and son were in heaven, and he knew they were better off than they had ever been. Rayford knew he had been forgiven for mocking his wife, for never really listening, for having ignored God for so many years. He was grateful that he had been given a second chance and that he now had new friends and a place to learn the Bible. But that didn't stop the aching emptiness in his heart. The longing to hold his wife and son, kiss them, and tell them how much he loved them. He prayed for the grief to lessen, but part of him wanted it and needed it to remain. In a way, he felt he deserved this pain, though he knew better. He was beginning to understand the forgiveness of God, and Bruce told him that he needn't continue to feel shame over sin that had been dealt with. As Rayford knelt praying and weeping, a new anguish flooded over him. He felt hopeless about Chloe. Everything he had tried had failed. He knew it had only been days since the disappearance of her mother and brother, and even less time since his own conversion. What more could he say or do? Bruce had encouraged him just to pray, but he was not made that way. He would pray, of course, but he'd always been a man of action. Now every action seemed to push her farther away. He felt that if he had said or did anything more, he would be responsible for her deciding against Christ once and for all. Rayford never felt more powerless and desperate. How he longed to have Irene and Raimi with him right then. How he despaired over Chloe. He had been praying silently, but the torment welled up within him, and despite himself he heard his own muffled cries. Chloe. Oh, Chloe. Chloe. He wept bitterly in the darkness, and suddenly jarred by a creak and footsteps. He turned quickly to see Chloe, the dim light from her room silhouetting her robed form in the doorway. He didn't know what she had heard. Are you all right, Dad? She asked quietly. Yeah. Nightmare? No. I'm sorry to disturb you. I miss them too, she said, her voice quavery. Rayford turned and sat with his back to the bed. He held his arms open to her. She came and sat next to him, letting him hold her. I believe I'll see them again someday, he said. I know you do, she said, no disrespect in her voice. I know you do. Okay, so that's the 16th chapter of Left Behind. The first book of Left Behind series, Left Behind. Take care, everybody. Another video from my Storytime channel.